Clicked on this video, you're probably thinking about starting game development, or maybe you just started, and in this video I want to explain you what is my roadmap and my plan in order to do so in this year. To give a bit of context, I actually grew up playing video games, starting from Super Mario and Pokemon on the Game Boy, then moving to PlayStation where I played Final Fantasy, FIFA, Metal Gear Solid, and later I moved to play on the computer where I tried many different types of games, from strategic ones like Age of Empires, Civilization, to FPS like Counter-Strike, Battlefield. So I tried many different types of games and I always wanted to create my own. The problem was that at the time we didn't have all the tools and tutorials that we have today that now make it very accessible for anyone to start learning it, and it always felt very overwhelming to start making games. So basically I sticked in using the editors inside the games, creating my own maps. For instance, in Warcraft 3, I remember that there was a good editor where you can even put some logic like the triggers, so it was kind of making games, understanding the logic of making games, but still in a very limited context and using an editor that was provided with the game. So fast forward to around 2016 when I finally met a colleague that was interested in making video games, and so in the free time I was actually learning about Unity and trying to support him in the coding part of the game. So even though this project was never finished, it gave me that first experience using Unity and making games, and later in 2019 with the same friend we decided to sit down, design and develop and finally release our first game that is called Axel Quest. It was released on Android and iOS, even though now it's not available anymore in the stores because we didn't work on it anymore and we needed to update some libraries. You can still find it in itch.io and I will leave the link in the description. This game was a 2D platformer. It took so long to make because we were both working in our daily jobs and we were working only part-time, and basically it took 9 months when we started to when we finished. We made many mistakes, but we learned a lot about making games. The problem was that we focused too much on the product and not about the marketing of the product, so basically when we released nobody knew about this game, so in the end it didn't have any success, but it was a fun experience to start with making games. After that though, we started to work on web projects, so basically for 4 years I didn't do any game development, but it has been a while since I wanted to restart making games because I really love it, and my goal is to develop and release finally a game done all by myself in the near future. In order to do so I need to make some strategic choices because now I have a full-time job, I still have some web projects that I work for my startup, so I need to find the time to make games, and at the same time I need to restudy a bit, do some tutorials and learning to make arts. So the first decision that anyone started to make games they have to make is what engine to use. And even though I would like to try Godot, yeah, you know, because it's getting more and more popular with more features and it's completely open source, not hidden fees on installs of your games. The problem is that I will have to learn a completely new engine with a new structure, and if you want to use the latest features of it, it's better to use GDScript instead of C#, and all of this will take a long time. So that's why I will start again with Unity, but I don't exclude that in the future maybe I will try to use Godot, perhaps making simple games in both engines and compare how it is process of making games in both of them. Now, another reason I want to use Unity is that over time I acquired a lot of assets using mainly Humble Bundle, but also with the sales on the Unity Asset Store, and as well I already bought some courses in Unity, and therefore for me it will be much easier to use whatever I already have and try to capitalize on all these assets that I already have. Now, in order to simplify my process, I will start doing only 2D games, single player, and probably only for desktop. In this way I can simplify a lot and I don't have to think about the infrastructure and the complexity of creating 3D models with Blender that I don't know how to use. And I still think it will take a long time because I want to do hand-drawn art instead of pixel art, because even pixel art is not as easy as people say and it will take a long time to master master it, and you need to spend much more time in making animations because you need to create this sprite sheet. While with hand-drawn art, you can actually create once your character and split it into body parts that you can later animate inside Unity. Regarding the courses that I will take, my first goal is to not end up in the tutorial hell, that place where you start making a lot of tutorials and never start to work in your real project. So my goal is to take only one of these tutorials. In this case, I will take Game Dev Rocket, done by Blackthorn Prod, and I will try to do all the games that are similar to what I want to make, and especially focus on the art section, that apparently there are many tutorials about that, and this will give me a good refresher of the logic and at the same time trying to practice making art for my game. Probably I will need to supplement it with some tutorials specific for Krita, that is the software that I will use to make art. But at the same time, I want to start thinking about game ideas, write them down and try to put some sort of game design document, and finally choose one very simple idea. I can just list down all the features that I need and think about how to implement them, and in that case just find a tutorial specific on that feature, maybe on YouTube, where I can just focus on that and not lose too much time doing things that I don't really need. So in the end, the idea is to make a few simple games just to practice, not to deploy on Steam. I can still talk about these games, how I made them on this YouTube channel, so in this case I can share my knowledge with you and at the same time feel more accountable in making these things. And finally start working on a real project that I want to deploy on Steam. I already have some sort of ideas of games that I want to make, but I will talk about this in a future video. If you have any question or suggestion about my plan to learn game development, you can write it down in the comment section. I cannot give a true estimate or when I will be able to do each of these steps since I have a busy schedule, but if you are curious about my progress, you can follow this channel where I will release updates on my progress. And if you want to start doing game development or other projects as well, but you feel like you don't have the time to do so, you can check my previous video where I explain how you can make time for your projects even though you have a very busy schedule. So thank you guys for watching and see you in the next video.